Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Take Two Radio. I'm Pam, your host, and with me tonight I have not Affleck, sorry. I have Sabina.
Yeah, don't start that again. Hello, Pam.
That is just a running joke between her and I on Twitter. Anytime I try to get her attention, I have to yell out Affleck, and she comes right away. So it's nice.
Let me remind you don't have to, but okay.
I think it's my way of telling you that it's important. I need to talk to you right away. So,
yeah.
And that's good. But we're good. Are you having a good night?
Yep, I sure am.
Wonderful. Well, tonight we're very excited to have with us an actor, a writer, and a producer. He's a man of many hats, and his name is Dana-Browne. Welcome, Dana.
Thank you. Well, how are you?
I'm good. Good. Thank you. And I'm sure all is well with you right this second?
Right this second, yes.
Okay. We got your Chinese order in, and we'll be rocking and rolling. Well, to start out with, I read in your bio, and I know we've just discussed it just a few minutes ago, that you were a New York police detective, and you had an accident, and then you went back into acting. How did you get interested in acting in the first place?
I was, my first bug was in the fourth grade, believe it or not, doing a school play, dressed up as an Indian doing the Boston Tea Party.
Oh.
So that was my very first acting gig. And it just kind of caught the bug and did it through high school and some into college, and went into a theater company in Washington, D.C., that focused on social issues, and then went to a theater company in Virginia, and then as I was working as an investigator with a federal agency, moved to North Carolina and started into the film and television.
Okay. Well, I mean, from fourth grade on up, that's pretty good. You know, that means that, it means that you were, really interested in it. If you think about it, it's not something that you touched on and thought, well, I'll try this. Nah, it's not for me, and then change your mind later. This is something that was really inside of you.
Yeah, it was inside. I actually gave it up some time back at the request of my ex-wife, and it just ate at me, and then once we got divorced, then I just continued to re-pursue it again.
Wow, that's amazing. I actually was curious, what made you turn to being a police detective if your love was acting, and when did that occur?
I moved to North Carolina in 2006. So I left the police department in 2005, and in 2006 went to North Carolina and picked back up commercials, film, and television roles.
Fantastic. That is amazing.
What? Were you going to say something else?
Nope.
No, I was talking to Sabina.
Pam, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
You told her to behave, so she's not.
Yeah, I know, right? What's been your favorite part, or like something you produced or written so far?
Probably the most fun role that I've played was in a short film that a friend of mine actually wrote. It was a psychological thriller, and I got to play the bad guy. So I actually grew my hair out for 4 months. I gained a little bit of weight, and it was really the funnest role that I've played to date. The funnest set I've been on probably would be a tie between either Army Wives or a feature film with Lake Bell called A Good Old-Fashioned Orgy. Those were probably the two funnest sets that I've been on to date.
I didn't realize you had been on Army Wives. I don't watch it, but my daughter-in-law does. It's too hard for me to watch because at the time that it came out, my son was in the Marines and he was deployed, and I just feared all of that stuff.
Yeah, well, my mother, being a Marine wife, I grew up in the military. I was surrounded by Marines, so I'm very in touch with that whole storyline. A lot of it is very accurate, but getting to chat with Kim Delaney on set and just found her to be absolutely charming, and a lot of the other people that work on that show as well, just amazing group of people. So it was a lot of fun.
I do know who Kim Delaney is because she actually was on All My Children.
Yes.
Way back when.
Yes, but I didn't know her from there.
No, you didn't watch soaps?
No. unless my grandmother, forced me to watch, General Hospital or something, because that used to be her favorite.
Oh, I watched that one too. I pretty much watch them all.
Yep.
Sabina only watches one. She's boring.
Hey. I just can't get into the others. Sorry.
It takes time. They're pretty much all the same. You even see some storylines that are the same. So that's why it's
correct.
nice that there's different movies out there and different TV shows and that you can watch so you don't get bored or see repetitive stuff. So I wanted to touch on when you were working in theater company, I should say, out of Washington, D.C., you focused on social theater. Can you explain that to our listeners, exactly what that's about?
Sure. Social theater are plays that deal with social topics. For example, the one that comes to mind first is a little play called Ragdoll, in which that talks about child abuse. And I got to play the Ragdoll, and there's of course, we used everybody who was over the age of 18, but a smaller stature girl to play the young girl who was being abused by her father. And she would, in turn, take that out on the Ragdoll. And the Ragdoll, of course, would be trying to get her to talk about her feelings, sharing what's going on with somebody else, so that these plays could go to kids, etc., and then anybody who happens to be experiencing this could then go, oh, this isn't normal, this is what I need to do. So it's plays that are written with a social value in a way to kind of help other people.
Would you ever go to schools with that, or was that mainly done in a theater?
They would take that to schools. They found a little bit of trouble with some schools didn't particularly want it in, so we tended to do it in outside, like at parks or something along those lines, where the schools couldn't really have a regulation of say, no, you can't do this because of this.
Well, I applaud you for doing that because I think that's such a huge issue that we have, besides, of course, many others in this world that need to be acknowledged and publicized, so that way the kids know that there is help out there for them somehow, some way. I grew up in an abusive house because my father was an alcoholic, and at that time it was like when you called the cops, it would just be like, oh, it's a wife and husband thing, we'll keep that, you guys take care of it.
You two behave and don't make me come back again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I lived that way for 16 years until my mother finally got the courage to leave. And my gosh, the world changed in so many ways, but, it stayed with me for, probably till this day. I just learned how to deal with it differently now. But that's what I think is so important of showing the kids these days, that there is a way to get help and not have to live with that fear every day of him coming home and is he going to beat on us? Is he going to beat on my mom or whatever,
I agree.
So,
and the saddest thing, from my law enforcement experiences, I dealt with a number of domestic violence cases, abuse, where there's involving kids that are just watching the parents or the boyfriend, girlfriend,
right.
or whoever they may be. And I can't say the number of times that I've tried to explain to the adults that you are teaching your children that this is acceptable behavior.
Exactly.
You know, you're teaching your son that it's okay to hit a woman, or you're teaching your daughter that it's okay, to be hit.
Exactly.
So it was really the most frustrating thing, and I worked a lot with social services and child protective services, and we've actually had to take children out of households just because of the violence amongst the adults. So it's a sad thing, but I agree. It's definitely something that the society needs to be a little bit more aware of, and I think there's a way of getting this into the schools. I remember being into one of the middle schools and chatting with the principal, and I watched a young girl that probably 7th or 8th grade following behind a boy, apologizing immensely, like about 15 times. I'm sorry, I won't do it again. And clearly they had some sort of argument.
Yeah.
And the grin on his face was like a Cheshire cat, and that bothered me. And I looked at the principal, and I said, do you have any type of programs in school to teach these kids what a healthy relationship is? And she said, sadly, we don't. And I said, well, what can we do about getting something within the school systems, especially at a younger age, for, a child to learn that, because they're clearly not getting it at home.
Right.
That this is unacceptable way to talk to somebody else. This is, you don't have to, along the lines of bullying, but this is actually touching on verbal abuse, those sorts of things in a relationship. I think if we teach our girls at a very early age their self-worth, they don't have to accept that, and teach our guys at an early age as well what, a proper way to treat a woman is, plus that they also don't have to be accepting of the verbal attacks or anything along those lines if they're getting that too.
Right. I know I have 4 kids. One of them is my daughter. But I would have all 4 kids watch the talk shows when they would talk about abuse, and I would tell my sons, this is what you don't do, and tell my daughter, this is not, something that should happen to you, and if it happens to you, you let me know, and, we'll take care of it from there. Nobody deserves that. Nobody.
Absolutely.
And it is a learned behavior. It's not something that comes out of the blue, and either you're a strong enough type of person to get out of it yourself, or, you need to get help to learn how to treat people correctly.
Correct. That's correct.
Yeah. So I completely agree with you. I think no more needs to be out there in the schools, because that's when we need to prep our kids and get them going for, to be the right adults.
I agree.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Now, I guess touching on that, I was wondering, Dana, how you overcame the emotional scarring that you suffered due to emotional abuse, and was there one big revelation or multiple events that helped you heal you?
I say that, of course, being like most guys, you try to do things on your own, and you tend to say, oh, it's okay, it's okay. What I found after the abusive relationship ended, that I had tried to date a few other people, and it just